Oh, yeah.
We got a passion fruit LaCroix open. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Bradley Hathaway on the show today. Brad Hath for short, if you want that. BH. And, man, delightful conversation with only 900 technological hiccups. But Andy tidied it all up for you, so you'll have a pleasurable listening experience.
I did my
over there.
best, and it's worth it, even if there are slight moments where it sounds like he's going into the Matrix or being pulled apart by a black star or something. Black hole? Black star is not a thing.
And actually,
Anyway.
nothing happened on the call. We just wanted to add some Matrix sound effects because Andy got a new plugin. that
All
can just
intentional. Yeah,
digitize
Matrix plugin,
voices.
highly recommended to anybody.
Well, hot
yeah.
damn. We got a new patron to thank. It's been
Yes.
a little while since we've even alluded to it on the show. But Mr. Josh Allen, my friend, IRL. I've never liked the IRL in real life. I don't like that abbreviation. Get rid
I was
of
going
it.
to say, you don't like real life or you don't like the abbreviation for it?
I also don't like real life because of the existential terror that comes with it. I'd rather be a dog that just falls asleep when I die. But hey, Josh Allen, thank you, my
Thank
friend,
you, Josh.
for pledging us. He went top tier. Man, I love those people who do it. It's like
Gotta love 'em.
they're in. They love us for real. But if you don't know what the hell we're talking about, Josh Allen pledged $10 a month to support Ink and Echo, but you don't have to pledge that much. You can pledge $5. You can pledge $1. $1.
Or 420
month.
bucks.
You
per
can
month.
420 it up if you want. Why not? What this gets you access to is a page that we very rarely update.
We're gonna get better about it.
We're trying. Anyway, it's access to exclusive bonus behind the scene treats of the inner workings of Ink and Echo.
Maybe I'll post some more stuff there when I'm just on tour, like random voice memos or something like that. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, please do like a scientific breakdown of the burning of incense. Like that'd be a good audio content to put there.
Or just while we're driving 7 hours to Lincoln, Nebraska, and we're all delirious in the car, I'll just start recording, and that'll be entertaining for sure.
So anyway, all that to say, if you enjoy our show, if you've got a spare $1 a month, then
Which surely you do. Come on.
I mean, you could find that in the couch, probably some quarters, and anyway, go to inkandecho.com/Patreon to find out more and to help us out. And thank you to all the lovely folks who are doing that already. It's radical.
Yay. Thanks.
Andy, I've got a little something here before we get to Bradley.
Okay.
So similarly to the Bazan episode where he talked about No Country for Old Men being his favorite movie, and I think that is also my favorite movie, but in the course of the interview I didn't want to be like, me too. Yeah, right. Bradley alluded to reading Thomas Merton, and believe it or not, right now I'm reading Thomas Merton for the first time ever.
Oh my gosh, you guys should be
book
best
called
friends.
BFFs. Well,
Bradley
I'll not
forever
text
friends.
him about that. Anyhow, I'd never read Thomas Merton and kind of got led to him through reading Richard Rohr, who often references him. And so first chapter of this book of his called Seven Story Mountain, which is kind of an autobiography that he wrote in his 30s. There is a paragraph that knocked me on my buns.
Can't wait to hear what knocked you on your old buns.
Man, since becoming a dad, I love the term buns. It's just so funny to me.
Little honey buns? Is that what you call olive?
Yeah, like a sticky bun that you can get at the Frontier restaurant. Anyway, goodness sakes. Okay, listen to this. You honestly will like.
Should I
this,
prepare my
think.
buns for this?
Hold on to your buns, as Samuel L. Jackson says in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Quote: "If what most people take for granted were really true, if all you needed to be happy was to grab everything and see everything and investigate every experience and then talk about it, I should have been a very happy person, a spiritual millionaire from the cradle even until now. End quote.
Okay.
Holy shit. He just summed up all of life and how basically what all of us are chasing isn't it. And, and what...
I guess I still am a little confused as the meaning still. Just like, don't investigate things too much? Is that what he's saying?
Well, no. The meaning I take from this is, okay, if the life we've been presented with, if the point of how you get happy is to basically go do things, have new experiences, taste things, see things, whatever, and then talk about it later with other people.
Oh.
And that's it, then it's like, why are we not happy if we're doing that? And I think he's saying he did have those things and still felt unrest or still did not feel at peace. But I don't know, just at the simplest, if you boil down life to just that is basically what most of us are trying to do. And he's just saying, that's not it.
That's so funny to me that knocked you on your buns, because it doesn't seem to offer like an alternative. So it explains.
Well, not yet, no.
Sure, but it explains basically our collective or your personal unhappiness, right? That's kind of, it got at that.
Yeah.
And you don't feel, what's the word? Like annoyed by the fact that all he did was point out a problem that you experienced but didn't. And again, maybe that's later. I'm just curious as to why that specific couple lines did that for you. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the assumption is he's going to go on in the course of this book to kind of talk more about it.
Sure.
But I don't know. I like things, people who are able to summarize our entire existence, at least in the way I view it.
Right.
Because at least I daydream about, well, if I had more money, I could travel more and go, there can be a sense that you're missing out on life somehow if you're not going and seeing and tasting and experiencing things. But then it's like, even if you had that unlimited budget, ultimate, for all the free time in the world, no kids, and you could just travel and see everything. Yeah, then, you have those experiences and you come back and all you really do is hold them in your brain or talk to people about them. And that's good and beautiful, whatever, but that's not ever going to satisfy anyone completely. I'm always thinking about the fact that we chase so many things that ultimately do not satisfy us. And my mind takes it to mean, like, the obvious answer is, well, we're all longing to be with God, basically, and that's why nothing in this life really will satisfy. It's all going to fall short, even though it can be enjoyed in the moment. So anyway, I just that resonated with the way that I think big time, and so I'm just looking forward to more wisdom like that.
Sweet.
From this guy.
Keep those buns wrapped up for more more quotes that'll just put you right back on them.
I sure will. Yeah, I should maybe get a helmet for my buns.
A bun helmet? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Andy, you got anything?
Well, I just wanted to say that a week from today is when the tour starts, my tour.
Oh, yeah. You'll be at my place.
Begins at your house. And so, as we've mentioned, tickets, as of right now, tickets are still on sale for my Lowercase Noises house show tour. And you special listeners, people can get 10% off your ticket by using the code Ink and Echo. And that's at lowercasenoises.com/tour to get tickets for everything. It's going to be awesome. There's a good crowd already coming to your house. And a couple of the shows are already close to selling out. Like, Nashville and Houston are getting pretty close. So,
oh, hell yeah.
So don't miss out.
Don't wait, folks.
Do not wait. So
that's online all now.
That's all I really have. I feel good. I'm ready. I feel like I'm ready. If I had to go right now and play a show, I'd feel okay about it, which is pretty cool. So just logistical things to get done in the next week here, and then, a bunch of driving with a bunch of sweaty, introverted dudes. It's going to be great.
Indeed. Lovely.
So, yeah.
Great.
So do you want to intro intro this? I will say this intro starts basically Bradley jumped in and immediately asked us about ourselves. So it starts with him asking Josh why he dropped the Dr. Gaines pseudonym and is now just Josh Gaines. So that's the context of the beginning of this interview. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. So, yeah, Bradley, we were able to, someone connected us to him to have him on the show because he has a new record out, a new album called Flesh Eater.
Yes.
And we talk some about it. We actually end up talking mostly about other things, a lot about William Faulkner. But you should go listen to this record. And in fact, you should buy it because it's all about sex, at least on the surface. And it's just whether or not you care for the music or the, it's different. It's a real different album.
It's compelling.
Yeah. So go listen to it, go buy it, help Bradley out. And we are going to play a track from that album before we get into the interview. So here it is. And after that, we'll talk to Bradley.
I ran my fingers through your hair like all the others before, but I could not feel anything. No, I want something more. I traced your tattoos with my fingertips like I heard once in a song, but I could feel no impressions. I think something's wrong. Oh, that I could see you as they do, as a treasure box full of gifts. But all I see from you are the things that I can give. No, there is no love between us. What kind of man have I become? If you could see the thoughts in my brain, then baby you would run and run and run. Is there really a lake of fire where all the bad people go and the worms eat out their brains and their skin just burns aglow? If the devil is a lion and Jesus is a lamb, why can't they lie together? Why can't they lie together after the trumpet sounds? Goddamn all the wrongs I've done in my whole life. Goddamn all the things I tried to do, but did not come out right. Oh, forgive me in the morning for what I will do tonight. Forgive me somewhere down the line, just please before I die. Before I die.
You dropped Doctor for your new short story.
Oh man, you did do your research.
I love this.
Well, I'll tell you, Bradley. I mean, Dr. Gaines it's like it's run its course. That's sort of like I don't know. It started out as a joke, and I wrote a couple things under that name, and then I just here's the true reason. I have a short film coming out real soon, and I didn't want the short film is going to be seen by more people than have ever seen anything that I've made. And I didn't want a goofy pen name like Dr. Gaines going on there. I was like, no, I'm an adult. I want to use my regular name.
Got it. Okay.
So anyway, that was probably a longer answer than you cared to hear, but thank you for asking.
No, yeah, I wondered if it was a way for you to express different things, because you were doing a lot of horror. It didn't seem like the new short story was horror oriented.
Right.
A hard word. So I thought maybe there was that expression would be Dr. Gaines, but this other stuff would be your name. So I was just curious.
No, the hope is to go in the back catalog and just convert it all to Josh Gaines. Kindle is finicky, and talk about being bad at technology. Andy knows I am also very bad at technology.
I'll take care of you guys here. It'll be fine.
Yeah, right. Andy's probably has all the pedal boards, technology love.
He's the pedal man.
Pedal man here. Yeah.
So, Josh, I've never seen anyone sell a short story like that for $1. So is that the way that is kind of normal for writers to do now, instead of maybe a collection? Or
sure, it depends. And I mean, you might have seen it was free for the first week, so that's right. Kind of the incentive is. Well, I mean, so a few years back, Kindle or Amazon Publishing came out with what they called a Kindle single, which was just a digital-only story that was 50 pages or less, 50, in word count.
Okay. And
so, some larger authors like Stephen King or Lee Child would put out just these short stories and make them $1. So I don't know. And then it became just sort of an easier way for less established authors to just put stuff out on their own, but still have a chance to be read by a wide reach of people. Okay. So, yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's like whoever finds it. But I'd love to eventually, once I have enough short stories built up, do an actual print collection. Because I certainly prefer to read print myself. But so yeah,
cool.
That's the story there.
Man, you're getting grilled, Josh. I love it.
Yeah, Bradley, why don't you run the interview here? You can just ask us questions.
Yeah,
I'm just learning, man. I'm just learning. So Andy, you're lowercase noises, huh? Lowercase noises.
That's my turn in the hot seat. Yes, that's correct.
Do you sign your name with capital letters, or do you just do lowercase a?
Well, my name. No.
Yeah, your name.
No. Name is standard capital.
Capital.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Andy Othling of lowercase letters.
Actually, Josh, kind of similar to your Dr. Gaines thing. I used to really want my name, or the lowercase noises name, to be all lowercase, like lowercase L, lowercase N, and then it was kind of a similar thing. I was like, this seems just silly and kind of like too on the nose for the fact of having the word lowercase in the name. So I was trying to put shows for tour and Songkick, and when I signed up for it years and years ago, I did it with the lowercase letters, and I can't change it. And I was like, oh man, that's really annoying. I wish I hadn't have done that. I just wanted it to be standard punctuation or whatever you call it. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah,
that's me here.
Yeah, we all had these great ideas when we were younger, huh?
So what were yours? Did you have a thing you tried to do that you were like, oh, that's really dumb, I shouldn't have done that?
Well, I signed my name with lowercase letters for years and years. Yeah, so I don't know why. But then I think kind of like Josh, I was like, I'm a man. I've got capital letters here.
Right. Did you ever?
But no, I can't.
Oh, go ahead.
I can't really think of anything. I can't think of like something regrettable like that. I mean, I put my face on some T-shirts back in the day, but I just think those are funny.
Yeah.
So,
right. Did you ever? Well, because you're just Bradley Hathaway, and I mean, you and Bradley and Josh are doing, things that have actual words and ideas in them, whereas I don't. And all I knew going in, like I don't even really like my name much anymore, but it's like I knew at least I wanted it to be not my name so that it was associated with an entity that didn't seem like a human being, kind of. I felt like that would be better for the music that I was making. But like, have you ever had any thoughts like that? Or do you think the opposite? Like it's better to more clearly associate with your name versus some sort of, I don't know, project name or whatever you would want to do in that case?
Right. For me, it's Bradley Hathaway till I die. I think. Yeah, I think. I toyed with it a lot. But then I just remember thinking, Johnny Cash was Johnny Cash.
Right.
He never was anything else. With the Flesh Eater album, though, by the way, Flesh Eater is all capital letters.
Ah.
Yeah, I took note of that. Yeah.
While we're on the subject of,
is it because you wanted to just yell at everybody?
So like, it's just
here's
in
my
your
album.
Yeah. Straight. I wanted that album to be as. The album was so in your face. I was like, the name of it's Flesh Eater. It had to. I had to set it apart in some way, where it was, without really saying that I did that. I just wanted it to be Flesh Eater. Like the whole time, it was always capital letters to me.
You also could have done it in that like metal font where you can barely even read what it says. So you have to look at it for a second. Be like, I don't know what that is, and then they'd be like, oh, that's badass. Flesh Eater. Yeah,
I should have done that.
Well, Andy, I don't know if you've seen the promo images or videos for Flesh Eater, but they're pretty. They almost make me think of like a horror film, Bradley, like an 80s era horror film. That sort of bold, bleak font that's even a little like fuzzy around the edges.
Yeah.
So whoever did your art direction, well done to them.
Yeah. No, they killed it.
Is there anywhere where your signal is strongest there in the old outdoors?
Yeah, I think right here where I'm sitting.
Okay. It's fine.
We just gotta go. We just have to make do, fellas.
Yeah.
This is the life of the life of the unsuccessful artist right here. Doesn't even have Wi-Fi or cell phone reception.
Well, no, that is something I did want to ask you. I love that you don't have Wi-Fi or internet. I mean, that sounds like a pretty intentional choice, and you live in the country, which just seems peaceful, but was that like an intentional breaking yourself off, so to speak, from social media and internet use and whatever else, or where'd that come from?
So like right now I'm peeing outside.
Yes.
So I'm standing up looking at a field. There's little bugs. The grass is about waist high or chest high out in the field. And for me, peeing outside is just one of the greatest things a man can do.
Yeah.
So I just want to be able to live where I can pee outside.
I mean, Andy, you also live in a scenario where you could just step outside.
Grab my wallet.
Nice. Yeah.
Where's my wallet?
I peed outside right before we started this podcast. I'll do it whenever I possibly can.
Arms wide, you can spin in a circle. I mean, no concern against anyone seeing you.
Jumping
Except
jacks and stuff. Yeah.
So you lost me at me saying something awesome, I think.
Yeah, basically all of this recording where you're speaking, we don't have probably.
You were saying
so it'll be like the Bradley Hathaway ghost show. Like we'll just fill in some white noise and just be like, yeah, Bradley was saying some great stuff right here.
Just trust us.
It's
great.
Have you guys seen that movie A Love Song for Bobby Long?
No. Haven't even heard of it.
So it's about maybe 15. Well, Scarlett Johansson was about 18, maybe.
Okay.
She made it, and John Travolta's in it. But so John Travolta is, and John Travolta was living, but the daughter was estranged. Anyway, she shows up. She gets to know John Travolta and this other guy. But the whole time, one of the main characters is Scarlett Johansson's mother. but she was dead. So we never met her mother. We only heard the viewer only heard stories about her mother and never saw her picture, never knew what she looked like. But it was just this interesting way of telling a story without letting another person speak in it, you know. But she was one of the main characters.
Interesting. So is there even a disembodied voiceover, or it's just purely through the other characters speaking? Oh, wow.
Purely, just the other characters. You'll end up going to a bar, for example, and someone will see Scarlett Johansson, and they'll tell them a story about her mom. Like, oh, your mama, when you were a little girl, you sat right here. The only thing you saw of hers was her old clothes, some books, and the bar she used to play at. That's about it.
Wow, that sounds intriguing. I'm surprised I've never heard of that. And I kind of unashamedly love Travolta as well.
Oh, he's great in it. He's got white hair. When I say he's great in it, he's John Travolta in
Totally, yeah. Bradley, you did say that one of your favorite authors is William Faulkner. And while I have only read 2 of his, I've sort of developed an unofficial rhythm where I try to read one of his books every summer, because I can only handle about one of his books per year. Among other reading. But so anyway, what has drawn you to him, and what are some of your favorite novels?
It's a great question. I would say that he's one of my favorite authors, but that doesn't mean that I love him.
Okay.
That doesn't even mean that I like to read The Sound and the Fury or Absalom.
Gotcha.
I have a relationship with him where it's like, he just, you read like the first. So my first book of his was Sound and the Fury, which I read in college. And I had no idea what it was. Like, it was the most difficult, complicated book. You know, I mean, it was just incredibly difficult, which is what everything he does is just very, very difficult. But it expanded my mind to the possibilities, you know, like what is possible. So that's what Faulkner did for me. He just showed me, like, you can tell a story without having any regard for time, right? You can just you can go in and out of time. You can go back and forth from different perspectives, from different narrators. So I'll read Cormac McCarthy, who is All the Pretty Horses. Like, so he's one of my favorites. Like, he's legitimately, I love picking up Cormac. So he touches me, he moves me. He's very Faulkner, but he has something that makes me want to read him and enjoy reading him. But Faulkner doesn't do that for me, but Faulkner is such a giant that I have to interact with him still. So what I like more about William Faulkner is actually, I just read a bunch of his lectures. So I've read a book called Faulkner at the University, and it's just him answering questions, talking about being a writer, what a writer is. So I actually really love him, and his ideas, I guess, are more inspiring to me now than actually The Sound and the Fury. So I just read a giant biography of him. I finished it this afternoon. And so I did decide in the past 2 weeks to kind of go back into Faulkner again. So I picked up Absalom. I picked it up. Yeah. I picked it up and put it in the back of my truck. That's what I mean to say. I picked it up and said, I want to read this again. But then I started in on this biography. But I have that relationship with different artists too, like even Flannery O'Connor. She's one of my favorite authors, and I've read her stories multiple times, but her letters are what really draw me. Like, her as a human being, which is ironic because with Flesh Eater, I'm not really telling anyone what's true or what's not. Like, I'm very selective about what things I want people to know about me. I guess I want to control it. So, but with Flannery O'Connor, so when I first started reading fiction, I guess about 10 years ago, so I wasn't really reading fiction until a decade or so ago. I only read nonfiction because I thought that was real, right? That's the stuff that's real. Well,
one
so
of those
my
arrogant assholes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. I met this pastor at a coffee shop I was at, I guess, a few weeks ago, and he was sitting next to me, and I saw that he was working on Bible study or something. I don't know. But I asked him if he read fiction, and he said he had no time for it. He's like, I don't have any time for fiction, you know. And I just wanted to insult him, but I didn't. But anyway, back to Flannery. So Flannery, my friend, was like, you can read fiction, but if you're going to read fiction and you still are in love with this religious stuff, then read Flannery O'Connor. So I started with Flannery. I didn't really like it, but I felt this draw to her. And I kept interacting with her stories without really liking them, but still feeling this reason to listen to her. And then I discovered her letters and speeches, if you will, presentations. Yeah. And that was what really has now got me to appreciate her metaphors and her stories, because they're weird. Like, they don't make any sense, especially. So, you know, like, she's got this one story where she just, this little boy tries to baptize himself, and all he does is drown in the river. So you're like, well, what does that even mean? Like, how would you, you know? And then I read her letters, and Flannery she only says one sentence, but she goes, how else to illustrate what baptism is? Right. So it was just that little nugget. She's like, I'm talking about what baptism really is. It really is a dying, you know? And, so I interact with artists in that way, like, you know, it's a complicated relationship with them, I guess.
Right.
But I expect to dig into Faulkner now and like it more than I ever have, especially just trying to be more experimental in my own writing. But he's difficult. Yes. It's not easy, and but I'm looking for inspiration, so I can't afford to even have the internet at my house, right? So it makes me feel better about myself when I read that William Faulkner was poor. You know, at one point in his life, he had only one book in print. So even after The Sound and so there's a 12-year period where he did, I think, roughly 7 novels or something, but it's considered his masterpieces, right? So there was, maybe that was I said 12-year period or so. He wrote these masterpieces. So he had critical recognition. Everyone knew that's William Faulkner. But he got huge in France before in the U.S., and he sold a few thousand copies, and that was it. And then he was just drinking all the time, being poor. And later in life, he ended up getting some money, but even that came from Hollywood more so than his writing. So, anyway.
Gosh. Oh, shit. Andy, this might turn into the book podcast.
That's fine.
I have like 17 things to say that I'm excited about of what Bradley just answered. Okay. I have to go down the list here. I'm so glad, Bradley, that you said.
Wait, real quick. Have you guys read Harry Potter?
What the
I love Harry Potter so much.
Andy. Andy, you should just hang up. Just let me and Bradley kind of like croon over
What's
each
your favorite Harry Potter book,
selections.
Bradley? Just kidding.
Dude, Harry just, the guy just ends up crying all the time. He just gets too whiny. Like, I watched all the movies, and I'm always just crying.
Yeah?
He's too irritating.
That's like
but
Star Wars,
they got dark,
too.
though, hey? Harry Potter?
Sure did.
With Jar Jar Binks?
Yes. Sorry, Josh.
All right, Andy.
Go for it.
Shut up.
I did.
I'm so mean to Andy on this show. In real life, I'm mostly nice to him. William Faulkner, if and when I recommend him to people, I tell them that basically the only way to understand what the hell is going on is to just keep going, even if something doesn't make sense in the moment. Because I've only read Sound and the Fury and As I Lay Dying, which even are kind of like his classics, I suppose. So 2 of them anyway. Yeah. And in both cases, I reached points where I almost quit because I was just like, Quentin's chapter in Sound and the Fury, the young man who I believe his father's a watchmaker. Anyway, his whole section is very stream of consciousness and trippy and just bizarre. But anyway, there's something I've always been drawn to about reading these sort of heralded works of literature that are particularly difficult, at least for the common reader. You know, it's not just a beach read. Like, you have to sit down and really dig in with it and think about it and ponder over it. Anyway, I appreciate that.
But that's not easy.
Sure.
No one really wants to do that, and that's why I think it's so interesting. Academia. if it wasn't for academia, no one would be reading William Faulkner. They're the ones that championed it, and the biography I just read literally said that his stuff was so complicated that it was made for a university setting. So they all kind of acknowledge this doesn't make any freaking sense, but what a perfect way for us to teach a class on this one guy. And it's this whole industry of difficult. It's so interesting to me that critics, in terms of literature, they don't seem to really do it for movies or music, but like academia, they want something that doesn't make any sense, like, or is really, really difficult, right? So Harry Potter has sold how many hundreds of millions of copies of books, right? So we can laugh about, oh yeah, Harry Potter, but the reality is that woman is the first billionaire female author, right? She, everyone grew up on Harry Potter that's younger than me. It's a little past my prime, but and then you have someone like William Faulkner who didn't have any money, right? To make the plates for one of his books, the publisher said, the only way I'm going to publish this is if you pay for half of the plates.
Oh, wow.
Which I think when I say plates, I think it's like it's something really, it's not like a printer today. They have to like make these giant metal things and they print them on there. So he had to come up with $270 in 1950, whatever, to even have the thing published. I just think it's fascinating. And for some reason, I like to put my own self in those people's shoes or positions, and it's kind of having a weird effect though, because I've just been thinking about it so much the last few weeks that it's not really helping me by confirming that these great artists no one really cared about for a long time. I don't know what it's doing for me now, except making me feel bad sometimes. I don't know.
Wait,
but,
so
even Faulkner. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got to jump in here because I feel like we're getting to something you, Josh, have, I don't know, not struggled with, but there's that Chuck Klosterman book. What was it called that we talked about a while ago?
Oh, but what if we're wrong?
Right, because he was talking about like what makes something last for longer than their lifestyle. It's like, is J.K. Rowling going to be thought of as successful because she was the first billionaire woman author or whatever, or is she going to fade away and William Faulkner will still persist as a famous author? And then, so there's that question. And then there is, as the artist who is currently not making $1 billion or whatever, or significantly less than that, it's like, well, what does it mean?
Or even enough to live off.
Right. It's like, what is it looking at those different figures? It's like, well, what does it mean for what I'm doing? And basically, what does any of this mean, and what will it mean after I'm gone? So Josh, you seem to think about that stuff more than I do, because my brain can't even handle thinking about what my art is going to mean in 10 years. Like, I don't even know. But I don't know, Bradley, do you feel like is that what you're talking about? Like, does your brain go there and want to figure out some greater meaning for what you do and how you should go about it? Because that seems crippling and terrifying.
Yeah, and to your point, I don't know what Chuck's answer was, but I can't speak for J.K. Rowling actually say that's a good story or not a good story. Right. She seems to there's this psychologist guy. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. His name's Jordan Peterson. Yeah. He's kind of he's kind of the new Joseph Campbell. So he seems to think highly of the Harry Potter series based on it being like an archetypal character, and it checked off all the boxes of the whatever it is his I guess the archetypal character, the hero's journey. To me, Jordan Peterson's like the new Joseph Campbell. But so to the point of Rowling may be around, Harry Potter might be around, but history tells us that the what's the one with 50 Shades of Grey? Oh, like that book will not be around, right? So right. No one. So even during Faulkner's time, there were serial novels, massively popular books, but no one talks about them. So my experience with academia is these books are the ones that we have decided will stand the test of time. These are the books that we have decided spoke into this time period, and all of the really popular stuff sucks and we don't care about it and we're not going to talk about it. So I had one professor, for example, Inception, the movie Inception. Right. Christopher Nolan. So that again is like a William Faulkner movie to me. I've seen Inception 5, 6, 7 times, and I still don't know what it is. I still don't know.
Yeah.
I don't, and again, I don't really like it. So it's not about do I like it or not. There's things that I like that I make no apologies for, like Katy Perry's halftime performance at the Super Bowl.
Yes.
That blew my mind when she came out on that dragon, and I saw her presence. I just went, this woman is in complete control, and she is an absolute rock star, and
Yes.
my mind is being blown. So I have no apologies for what I like or don't like. But with Inception, I'm like, what? There's something I'm to learn something from this film. There is something in this film that is over my head that I don't understand, but there's so many layers that this is the kind of film that I'll be returning to in the way that I do William Faulkner. And I had a professor talk about that film, and he goes, Inception will be talked about. That is a movie that will be talked about for years from now. That was really all he said. So in terms of me assigning my own value to my things, when I started with all the hits so far, which was my poetry stuff, I mean, I kind of had that would be my only writer's block really ever. So I wrote all that stuff really quickly, and then I toured on it, and I released a book, and then I didn't write anything for like 2 years, and I thought, well, I'm done. That was it. I guess I had that. But even then, I was thinking of being an old man and making art. So I've always had a very long-term view. You know, with Flesh Eater, I didn't just want to make a great record. Like I try to control everything that I can, right? So at my abilities, when I was making that record, to my knowledge and my team's knowledge, we did the absolute best that we could do.
Yeah.
Right. So the results have nothing to do with me. Right. The results have nothing to do. However, when I made Flesh Eater, I absolutely said, I want this record to be talked about when I'm dead. I absolutely said, my culture is not going to get this. They're not going to understand it. It will be rejected. But did I make the kind of record that will be talked about in 20 years? And so I always have that very egotistical long-term view, for sure, because I'm not trying to make a Harry Potter or not Harry Potter, but I'm not trying to make a 50 Shades of Grey. I'm not trying to make. I'm not really trying to speak to a culture, right? So you look at William Faulkner again. That dude wrote about one county in Mississippi that he made up for his entire career. He would return to characters 30 years after he wrote about them. So he traveled a little bit, but for the most part, he's like, I'm a farmer. This is my town. That's it. So I say that to say that, like, he wasn't trying to speak to a generation. He wasn't trying to be anything other than a writer who, quote, had a demon inside of him that he had to write, and he had to write it out. So that's kind of what I think. So I'm not trying to do anything that is out of my control, as opposed to me just talking about my experience, which I hope culture can find themselves in it somewhere. But if they can't, maybe they will later. And if they don't, oh well. Right. I had a wonderful time doing it. You know, I had a wonderful, joyful, at times dark and twisted time making the record, and you know, now it's on to the next thing. But
well, so but okay, so imagine that comes true. Like, you will be talked about in 20 years, and people will talk about it the way you just talked about Inception. So I didn't like it, but I don't understand it. I'm going to keep listening to it a million times. But so imagine that happens. But imagine something else happens where you're able to make like a ton of money alongside of that. Would that make you feel better or worse, or would it make you as an artist better or worse? Does that question make sense? Like, if you could be Faulkner and J.K. Rowling at the same time, I guess.
I mean, to me that would be amazing,
right? Yeah.
But I also have a history of making. So I used to be successful, right, quote unquote. So I bought a house, I bought a van, I bought a trailer. I did an 80-page booklet with a DVD with 5 other dudes. I went on the road. I mean, I had money at one point, but that's very, very difficult to maintain. And then as I kept changing and progressing as an artist, my audience just really didn't follow me. And then technology changed. So I know what it's like to show up and make money and have a festival and be a headliner at a Cornerstone at midnight with the entire tent packed and singing along. But I also know me agreeing to do this interview, which will be heard. I mean, I don't know your audience, but it can't be that big.
Nope.
So right. So I go from So I go from this platform of 60,000 views on something I put on MySpace. in a matter of a couple days to agreeing to do an interview with two dudes that I don't know that a few dozen people might listen to. So it's just the way it rolls and the way it goes. But I've always tried to do this. Is my identity is not Bradley Hathaway. My identity is Bradley, who likes to pee outside, who he tells his dog to come up on the porch, and I pick ticks off of her back. He goes to sleep around 9 o'clock, wakes up around 6, makes some coffee, rinses off, sits at a desk, reads some Faulkner, reads some Thomas Merton, try to write some stuff, make some breakfast, same breakfast every day, 3 eggs, 2 pieces of toast. I mean, I have a smoke on my front porch. So those are the things, or who I am, I had lunch with my mom and sister on Monday, and we had all those familial dramas that occur even at 35 that were occurring when we were 12. Right? The things that try to keep you grounded from going like just batshit crazy. Because if I obsess too much about scratching my name on a wall, as William Faulkner says, he says that basically every artist is just trying to scratch his name. Kilroy was here. At a certain point. So I have to kind of try to keep grounded, and this speaks into the record as well, but this idea of like a whole human being, a healthy whole person who isn't art. Like, so you guys said that you're husbands and parents, or maybe you only said parents. So both, that's a part of you that, so you're husbands and parents, but you also make music, and you also write books. So you have this, and you do podcasts. So you're all of these things, and I guess I'm interested in all of these things existing together. Yeah, and then accepting the kind of depression that comes from being an artist, but then accepting the joys of, I don't know. For me, it's a pineapple. Like the first time I had a pineapple, it was just freaking delicious. Or this cute girl at the coffee shop the other day she asked me about something, and now I've got a major crush on her. Like all these things are all together, and all these things together kind of keep me from getting too carried away. But that also is why I live in the country, right? So all the noise that I have in my own head gets even louder when I get around a community of people who don't appreciate just sitting down, or don't appreciate like just the stars, or they don't appreciate quiet, like, so, or they're all fronting, trying to be something and get something, and I'd rather just sit there with my legs crossed and drink my cappuccino and not really be part of that rat race. Like, I tried to live in Nashville for 2 years, and it was awful. I tried to live in an urban environment of 3 million people in Utah, and that was not for me. So now I'm back on this dirt road in Arkansas.
Wow.
So anyway.
Yeah. Back to, well, a couple things. You sound like a pretty balanced guy. I mean, perhaps that's not true on certain days, or you have your moments like any of us do. But I mean, you're just the way that you phrase that. I relate to all of it, but I can also glean that I think you're a bit healthier than me and a bit further along in sort of a similar journey, I would say. Like the few similarities I could pick out from what you just said, it's like I do those things too, but I'm still kind of shitty and inconsistent about them, both with art and with just knowing how to be content as a human every day and not get panicky about the fact that I haven't, that I don't have notoriety or something. And also, even believing that is where I'm going to get self-worth from, which is not true, but easy to get caught up in. But anyway, it's something you said earlier, just about after your first record, something we've talked about on this show a decent amount is just how after putting something out, if you wait too long to start the next one, you can grow stagnant. And I'm just curious if that was the reason you didn't write for 2 years, or if you just purely didn't have ideas, even if the drive to work was there.
Right. I was still really new to the whole game. So when when I went on tour in June of 2014, I had only, so at that point, like, so the hardcore poem was this popular poem that I had. But that whole book, all the hits so far, was all written within 1 year of me going on the road. I think it was like maybe 6 months. So I literally started writing, performed the next weekend, and then I was on the road with the Chariot, and then I was on tour with Blindside. So for me, everything was just boom, boom, boom. There was no me trying to figure out what an artist looks like. There was no me trying to get confident to be anything. The only thing that I wasn't comfortable calling myself for a long time was a poet. So it took me a few years to even call myself a poet. And one of the ways I dealt with that was by putting Bradley Hathaway, the poet, on all of my shirts. It was like this funny way of me kind of trying to deal with it or handle it. But no, that block was more so, I think, me just being a new artist and not really... no, I don't know. It had nothing to do with me, dude. Because all I was doing when I started... When the block stopped, I was sitting on the sidewalk in Amsterdam, and then I started writing, and then from then on, it's just been going and going ever since.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've never. If I was to encounter that today, I don't know what I would do, because now my struggle is not ideas; it's making them presentable and good enough and whole enough to be released into the world. Right. So that's my struggle now. How do I take these ideas, like, with you've written at least one novel, Josh. So like you've already done the beginning and the end, which I assume is 50 to 100,000 words. So that is really, really hard, right? So that's where I'm at now. How do I take all of my ideas and then focus on them individually? So I had intentions of the last month to start or to work on a particular project, but my mind went to another project. So that's what I've been working on now. But it's just getting harder to kind of, but then you read William Faulkner, and he's like, he says a writer can write himself out. And that's what happened to Faulkner. Like he had that burst of inspiration, which came really early for him, because a lot of writers, from what I've learned, they write the really good stuff later in life. But he was kind of done, man. So when he died, he'd been having a block. He wrote another novel or two right before he died. But he said he's like, I'm still gonna keep writing, but I'm stuck. I don't really have much to say at this point. So, it's after I made A Mouthful of Dust, I remember thinking that I had made my statement. I remember thinking, this is my record. I cannot make anything better after this, so I'm not even gonna try. And it's so funny to hear me say that now, and then looking back, going like, "You goober, you aren't even close." Yeah. But when you hear William Faulkner talk about, it's the desire to get it right the next time is what caused him to keep writing books. Like, so he said The Sound and the Fury was his favorite book, but not because it was his best book. He said, that was my greatest failure. He said, I tried so hard and I failed so hard that's my favorite, right? So it's just this really interesting way of looking at how we all make art and what we expect from it or want from it. And I think making an album is a bit easier than a more longer format. But for me, so where I'm at now, it's like I'm trying to write the best thing that the world has ever seen and that I could ever create. But I also know that I'm going to have the feeling that I can do it better again next time, right? So with Flesh Eater, I'm like, what's my next record going to be like? Because I think Flesh Eater is really important. It's important to me. I think it's really good. And I'm kind of like, am I done? Am I done? Was that my last album? And now I'm like, no. There's a few things wrong with it. I know that I can do better on the next one or whatever. But it's a journey. So even Josh, you saying like, I sound more balanced, or everything is a journey. And it's, that sounds so cliche. It sounds so terribly cliche, but we all are going somewhere. Yeah. And we're all, I think, going to end up at the same place one day. And there's going to be a lot of freaking different roads to get there. And there's going to be some floods and fires and droughts, but we're all going to end up there, So
just something that you said about the album, is the album before Flesh Eater, The Mouthful of Dust? And you said when you were
2 albums.
2 albums ago. Sorry, but you said
I believe so.
Yeah, you just said when you finished it, you thought that you were done, and you kind of I know you didn't say you stopped caring, but did was that part of the reason that helped you get on to the next album though? It's just kind of basically giving in to the thought that, well, maybe that was the best thing I ever did, and so you kind of automatically release the pressure on yourself. Did that end up being a helpful thing, or was that detrimental to get moving on to the next thing?
No. And when I say that I had that thought, it didn't last very long.
Okay.
I went right on to the next thing.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, it was, yeah. So even when I made, so when I went in the studio and made 1,000 Angry Panthers, which is what I made right after Mouthful of Dust. So the timeline is A Mouthful of Dust, 1,000 Angry Panthers, which is an EP, then How Long, and then Flesh Eater. So when I made 1,000 Angry Panthers, well, I think Carolina at that time on that album, that song, that's one of the best songs I've ever written that I will sing as an old man. But I also had the songs that made up the first half of How Long at the time that I made the EP, but I didn't think it was the right time to release those songs. I don't know. This sounds so weird, but I think since all three of us are artists, I knew I had better songs than 1,000 Angry Panthers, but for some reason I just felt like, no, I've got to do it in this order. I have to put out 1,000 Angry Panthers, and then I'm going to drop How Long. But I remember recording. We did like just one dry run of through some of How Long. The last day we were making the Panthers, and the producer goes, "What the heck are you doing? Why are you not? This song is the best song you've ever written." And I was like, "Yeah, but it ain't time." And it was another 2 years before it came out. But no, so for now, the idea is like, so Flesh Eater had been done a couple years before it came out. But so again, to go back to William Faulkner, he just says there's a demon in a writer, and the demon won't have its silence until the writer writes it. So now I have all of these demons in me. And it's weird, all three of us can relate to this, but like most people, they wake up in the morning and they watch the news, or they go to work and then they come home and then they might play with their kid, or they're going to watch television, and that's pretty much it. But our world, we've added this entire dimension of hardship to our lives.
Yes.
And it's so interesting. And so where I'm at in my process now is like, why am I freaking doing this?
Yeah.
Like really, I wake up and I start to work before I go to work. And it's like,
right.
And then, I don't know. I mean, I get stoned now to have an artistic experience that changes my view of reality, so that I can then incorporate that into my art. So I'm even getting stoned to be a better artist now.
Right.
Like, all right, so all three of us can kind of understand, like, man, this isn't giving a lot of financial rewards, but there's something in us that says we have to do this.
Right.
And I don't think the world understands when they write some shitty comment on our Facebook, or send us a very inappropriate email, or they try to tell us this, that, and the other. And I'm not trying to be a champion for everyone putting out their art and taking the slings and arrows, but where else in life do you become as vulnerable as we do?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So it's like insane. So with Flesh Eater, I think Flesh Eater is this phenomenal, but I'm also a very, very selfish dude in his own head who is filtering his own reality through my culture and then my album, blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't get to say if Flesh Eater is an album that will have the effect of a Flannery O'Connor novel did in 1960-something, or my next book in the fall. I don't get to say any of that. All I get to do is just kind of hope for it and put it out, and then I get judged for it. And, and people try to be really mean to you about it.
Yeah. Boy.
It's a compulsion for sure. And I think, to some kind of on a different angle of what you were just saying, the people who do have quote unquote ordinary lives, it in my experience, it wouldn't occur to them to write something down or to make a song, or they'd be baffled by the ability to even do so. But on our end, at least, yeah, I'm pretty sure for all three of us, like it's like, no, we're healthier if we're making things. Like when I'm stagnant, when I'm not making things, I feel like shit. I don't feel like myself. I get panicky.
Yeah.
And it's just like, even if it's something I never put out, like I need to be working on something so that I feel normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Bradley, do you envy those people you were talking about who just have their normal lives and play with their kids and go to bed?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because I do. I totally do.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to a dude who at least thinks he wants to be married, right? You're talking to a dude who has a dream of living on a farm that he is. So when I moved into where I'm living now, all right, I started reading about raising ducks, how to slaughter pigs, how many goats I could have, and what kind of things goats want to eat. So I've had this lifelong desire to stay put every freaking month. So, like, I've been home since March 13th.
Mm-hmm.
So within 2 months, I went to Alaska to stay for 6 weeks to commercial salmon fish, because that's just one of the ways that I make money. But I can't even stay in. I couldn't even stay in Arkansas for 6 months. So yeah, I desire the normal person, and I desire that commitment and that unquestioning this, that, and the other. But I also recognize my role in their life, right? So today I'm at work, and I work with adults with disabilities. So I'm a job coach. It's one of my jobs where I go to our clients' place of employment. Telling this coworker who's the manager of the store, like, hey, I'm only going to be here another 2 weeks. I'm going to Alaska. And she just told me how much she envied my life. So those are the people that we hope go, you know what, Andy, you know what, doctor, I don't live the way that you do, or but I love that you get to go on tour for 40 days and just play people's house.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you 10 case noises in the background. So it's all, so back to kind of this balance. We're all functioning together. Like, I'm inspiring them, and it's just neat.
Right.
Yeah, well, one of the things I was saying is I just want to acknowledge that me talking about making a record that will be talked about 20 years from now, I recognize how arrogant it sounds.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's just the way it is, man. And I think any artist, we all have to think we're great, because if we don't, then why are we even putting it out or even trying? Like, the last thing I want to do is get up there and be like, yeah, my name's Bradley, lowercase b, and I wrote this song, I wrote this poem, and I don't really think it's that good.
Oh my gosh, the self-deprecating thing,
like, no,
I hate that so much.
No, I'm showing up like I'm Bradley Hathaway. I don't have my shirt on, and that's because I look really good without my shirt on, and I'm gonna bust this out right now. Right? So,
yeah. Well,
that's what I'm trying to do.
That I always say with people who are self-deprecating, like, I'm gonna believe you when you say your stuff is bad. So, like, don't say that. Everyone's gonna believe you, and then go into it like that. So stop doing that. I hate it.
Yeah, and I try to I speak doubt into my life when I'm in the shower. I try not to do it in front of everyone. Right? So don't get me wrong. So, like, confident, I'll just be like, I suck. So right now I'm trying to work on this project, and I'm like, I have no idea how to make this better. So, and I'm just like, I'm not talented like William Faulkner. But then I have to tell myself, dude, he's one of a generation, you know, like I'm not comparing myself to like Touche Amore or Levi the Poet, or I'm not comparing myself to my contemporaries. So I try to choose the highest bar possible.
Right.
Like, I don't want to play football, and I don't want to be I don't want to be Ryan Tannehill, okay, quarterback for the Miami, who's like got some promise, but he's kind of sucking it up, but he's maybe good. No, I want to be Tom Brady.
Right.
So I'm going to look to Tom Brady to try to become Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, not, you know, lowercase Bradley, lowercase Hathaway. Check my stuff out on Spotify, like, you know. So.
Right. What you just said, having sort of crazy or self-deprecating thoughts in the shower, do you have people in your life who you tell these things to, and then they're just like no, Bradley, you're fine. Like, you're not crazy. You're making good work. Like, keep at it. or are you just in your own head only and have no one to go that deep with?
No, I have. It's interesting you ask that because I have very different relationships. I think we all do. But there are people that know me that have no idea that I write. There are people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like all these people that I work with, they have no idea. Capital Bradley, capital Hathaway.
Right.
All I am is the dude that shows up and works and helps this person to wash the dishes, you know? Like, now they heard that I'm going to Alaska to commercial salmon fish, but they don't know anything about my life. So there's those people. And then, you know, speaking of balance and everything, Josh, and just getting older, like when you're younger, I guess I wanted to tell people that I did those things, but now that I'm older and I'm trying to be more, you know, who am I as a human being? What's my identity? I don't tell people, my name's Bradley. I used to be this popular writer and musician. I don't really say those types of things that I just told you to people. I might be like, you know, with this book that I've, so I just read this book called The Plover, Plover. And then I read another one called The Brothers K. So I don't really read new fiction, but these have come out in the last 15, 20 years. So I talked to my friend and I go, I am nowhere close to writing anything this good, you know? So that's me verbally kind of being disappointed. And then she just agrees. She's like, yeah, you're not. Yeah, but you're good. But you're good at what you do. And that's really all I need to hear. Because I get encouraged when I read this novel, The Plover, and I find out the guy was 65 years old when he wrote it, you know? So it's kind of like, I'm not thinking, what did I do when I was 21? I'm thinking, what will I be doing when I'm 75? Because with all of the age and all of the wisdom, and as we all learn our crafts better and better, man, that's when we become real masters, you know? That's when we're like, we can look back on our discography or our body of work, and we can see the progress, and then we can just slay it. So I've wanted to be an old person without their body.
Or have the experiences, but not the breakdowns.
Yeah.
And you feel it more. So I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm 35. And I'm telling you, man, I'm just exponentially becoming more human being, more whole, more grounded, more... Like right now, everyone's declaring everyone right now is saying that it's Kevin Durant's NBA. He's the best player, not LeBron James. And they're saying that the Warriors are the best team in the history of the NBA. And I'm just sitting here going, all right, I've been around enough to know that you guys just have no idea what you're talking about. So I'm gonna let you do your clickbait conversation, but let's talk about this again in 10 years, which isn't what we do, right? No one wants to do that, right? Trump became president. We're all gonna die right away. There's gonna be a nuclear war. Kids are gonna starve to death, yada yada. It's like, you know what? He's not the first bad president, and he won't be the last. We're gonna be all right. So, but I don't know. I love that thing about becoming older and having this, I guess the word is confidence, but at the same time, all of the unknowns that come. There's so many things that you guys know that I don't know, that I may never know. Like, so in terms of all of us working together, the love that you guys have in your heart for your daughter or your son and your wife, I don't know that love. It's not that I just don't know it. I can't even access it.
Right.
There is parts of me that I will never be able to know until I become a husband, until I become a father. And I may never those things. So what's cool is you just kind of recognize that, you know that, and let life roll. You just kind of just, all right, I don't know that love, but I want to know that love. And then when I think about being an old man, well, did I get any of that love in another way? Let me accept it. Getting old is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. In its own way, it is. Something you said made me think of another author, Neil Gaiman, who oddly enough, I'm not crazy about his fiction or his work at all, but to hear him interviewed is fascinating because he's in his 50s and has a big body of work already and is just a very insightful guy. But anyway, he said, as far as that, your reference to the Brothers K and Plover and not having the perhaps the talent to write something that good, what Gaiman said along those lines would be, yeah, but only Bradley can write something like Bradley, you know? And that sounds a little hokey at first, but it's like, presumably someone who you find really impressive could read something you wrote and have no idea who you are and just be like, holy shit, I would have never thought of that. That's the best thing I've ever read. And so there's just kind of this beautiful, even if we never know about it, you know, this seems inconceivable to me, but someone might think my novel is the best thing they've ever read.
Right.
And, you know, in my mind, I'm like, no, hell no, nobody's, you know, but it's possible. So anyway, just a beautiful.
And no, thought. That's very timely for me in my thinking about William Faulkner, because he wrote story after story, and I'm not a very good storyteller. I'm getting better outside of my own experience. Mm-hmm. So what you just said is something that when I'm in the shower, that's the kind of thing that I might tell myself is, you know what? I'm doing me. And all I can do is me. And what me is a little bit better at finding a meaning in a moment in a more realistic way than some sort of an old farmer goes out into the woods and he's trying to hunt this bear and he has all these things happen to him while he's hunting a bear. I don't know how to do that. I'm not very good at that. So I am trying to rest in what I am good at, but even that goes back to what we were talking about before. When you know that you aren't as good as William Faulkner, yet you're still putting yourself out there and allowing yourself to be openly criticized. But this goes back to our identity as well. It's like, yes, I'm not William Faulkner, but I do have my own voice, and it does make me really happy. And I do think there is a purpose and meaning. People may like it, people may not. But again, I'm Bradley. I like to pee outside. I have a dog named Hetty. I have a niece named Maddie. I went to the place I've been eating at since I was 2 years old and had chocolate mousse and a cheeseburger with French fries. Like it all works together in that world, right? Where we can know that we're not as good as these other people, but we can still find a joy in doing it our own way. Because again, at the end of the day, like I said, man, we're all on this weird journey. We're all going to die. And then when we're dead, everything gets equalized. So for a lot of years, that was one of the way I comforted myself. You know what? I'm going to be dead. Nothing matters. Done. Like it doesn't like a lot of the struggles or the finances or anything. At the end of the day, like, dude, we're all going to be freaking dead. Now, what we think it means, you know, we all have our different interpretations, but one of my views is it means no one's famous, right? There is no more fame. There's no more fame.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Like fame can only exist in a certain threshold of time and then it fades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I hope that we all come to that point where when I'm dead, somehow, by the Lord's grace, in some weird way, I have that love that you guys have for your children put into my heart without me having my own children. Right? So that's one of the things I like about becoming old, is that hopefully I'm becoming that more well-rounded man, this more Christ-like man, this just a whole being kind of aware, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway. Absolutely. I like to think about 50-year-old Josh re-listening to these episodes right now and just being like, oh, Josh, you're such a knucklehead. Or like, or honestly, what older Josh would probably tell me right now is just that I need to relax and like chill out and just enjoy my existence in this time and place.
Totally.
Do you guys ever get weirded out that your DNA is all over the place? Like, I travel so much and I always think like, oh man, if anyone's ever killed at that gas station, my DNA is in there.
I never think about that whatsoever, but that is a curious thought.
The only thing I've thought about close to that is like, I would love to, like after I'm dead, be able to basically like look at all the hard data from my life. Like I'd love to be able to see a heat map of all the places where I've been, and the places where I'd traveled the most, like it would be a brighter spot on the map. I'd be like, wow, look at all those places I went. And obviously I was there a lot more than somewhere else. And I don't know. I would just love to look at data after I'm dead. That's a weird thing to say.
That is
like
weird.
Just a nice infographic of your entire life. And
yeah.
Anyhow, Bradley, I've listened to Flesh Eater numerous times now, and it's hard to listen to, man. I mean, not even speaking to the lyrical content, because that doesn't bother me at all. I kind of used to speaking openly in that sense anyway, but just the musicality of it and the sort of how scarce it is. Yeah. It's very brooding and even uncomfortable to listen to, you know?
Yeah.
So I assume that was intentional, but it's just heavy, and there is a darkness to it.
Yeah. So my mentor, I played a couple tracks for her and her husband, and she basically goes, "When will anyone want to listen to this?" She's like, "I'm imagining I'm at a bar, I'm sitting on a bar stool having a beer, and you get up there and play. Why? Who wants to listen to this, and when?" So yeah, jury's still out. The jury is still out on that one, fellas. The jury is still out. But it's the sparseness. I mean, a track like Nathaniel is just a floor tom and me talking over it. But you're kind of waiting for something else to happen, and there's this this feels tense, and it's like, pretty much.
Right. Yeah. It's an interesting piece of work in the sense that, interesting is a bad word. That's like what people say when they don't like it.
Yeah, well, we've already established that you don't like it, I think, didn't we, Andy?
That's what it's sounding like, but also,
but hey, you know what? That's fine. What I'm glad about is you're having an interview and you've listened to it first, so we can at least like have a conversation about it. So I'm glad.
Well, at least we have the context of saying, "Hey, I don't like Inception, but I've watched it 5 to 7 times because I want to watch it 5 to 7." So it's not even necessarily an insult. It's just like I'm compelled to listen, but I don't know why. So like and interesting is not really great words to use here, but yeah.
Anyhow, what I was going to say is like the easy selling point, not from your mouth, but from one to another describing this album, is just like, oh yeah, it's about sex. But it is, I mean, just the character of the guy and making reference to his childhood and his mother and all these little hints you drop in. It just made me realize, especially on the third listen, this is not about sex at all. Like, sex is the symptom of a deeply emotionally unhealthy person who is so sad and heartbroken and like longing for God. That's what I take from it, basically. But anyway, I appreciate the subtlety there, because it's, I don't know, you seem to use an economy of words on this record, and every word is very intentional. Would be my thought.
Yeah, it just sucks when I listen back and I go, why did I say the word "and"? Why did I put the word
So you
"but"?
nitpick it that hard?
Yeah, but at the time when I made the record, I wasn't talented enough to recognize that I threw in an unnecessary article or an unnecessary conjunction. It's just like, damn it, why did I? Because, you know, when you say therefore, well, that's implying that something happened and you're making an argument and you're going to conclude your argument. So whenever I use the word "but," it's like, well, that literally served no purpose except it was a syllable.
Right.
And in my less formed, talented mind, I didn't even probably know that I was saying "but." I was just putting in that extra syllable. So yeah, economy of words, I'm getting better, but I still am like, oh man, why did I say that? Or like in Nathaniel, where I go, I don't love this woman, but if I wanted to, I could. But then I say, we finished making love. And I'm like, damn it, I just said that I didn't love her, but then I'm assigning that title to making love, which I don't think they are. They're not making love. But again, so I hear things like that, and I just go, God, man. But to bring it back to William Faulkner, he goes, there's a point where you just go, it's as good as I can get it. It's good enough, and I'm done, and I got to move on.
Oh, yeah.
So, right.
I've never had a project that ended with me going like, hey, all right, did it. It's all, I just...
Wiping your hands, it's all chip, chop, chip. Yeah, it's ready to go.
No, every time it's like, oh man, usually, and I wish I could get around this, but maybe it's futile. It's just, I get so in my own head and stop enjoying myself. And at that point, I'm like, well, I've just got to finish up a few loose ends and call it good, and I don't even necessarily
Yeah.
feel that great about it. And I don't know how much of that to try to fix. Like, if is that just the way it's going to be? I mean, I'm always interested in trying to hone my process, but I don't know if I'll ever come out of a project and be like happy with it until I can have like a pretty big distance. I don't know. I don't know if you resonate with that at all.
No, I hope you can come to that. No, I feel it after every record.
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, again, I might as well just put all the arrogant cards on the table. I'm just like, this is the best alt country album ever made, man. I did awesome. You know, and you know, and there's a delay in the way I release records. So How Long was done a couple years before I put it out.
Oh,
Flesh
wow.
Eater was done a couple years before I put it out. So, you know, you talked about looking back with a distance to it. So a lot of times the immediate moment we think something we just did is phenomenal, but 2 months later we're like, ooh, actually, that's not nearly as good as I thought it was. I mean, how many of us haven't been excited on like a sweet guitar lick or a sweet paragraph or sweet turn of phrase, and we just go, oh, this was so good, and we love that moment, and then the next morning we're like, that was crap.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
That wasn't even any good. So I hope you can come to that point. But again, it doesn't. I don't know. Why can't we just kind of be content enough to
I
kind of be
know.
like this? I'm really proud.
Right.
I think I did a good job. And then, but I think it comes down to kind of something I've just been thinking about since the cycle of this record, I guess. Like we can't allow ourselves just to kind of be okay. We can't just go, you know what, I'm really proud of this and it was the best I could do and that's enough for me. We still have to make it this identity thing, or we still have to think about the rejection, or I mean, how many of us, like the fact that I don't tell people that I even make art anymore is quite a big deal for me personally, as opposed to me being 21 or 23. So, yeah, I don't know. I hope you can come to that point. But you're in great company because all the greats say that, right? I mean, William Faulkner says he's a failure, or to a point. He thinks it's not as good as it could be.
Right.
I mean, Bruce Springsteen, you know, he's got some. Actually, he's pretty proud of his stuff, but it might take him 2 full days to find a snare sound that he likes.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah. I don't know. I just want to. The only thing I really want to change is just be able to do stuff quicker is all. It's just so I can minimize the amount of time that my head gets in that space. Because I think I'm happier when I go into a thing and realize that it's not going to be perfect. I just want to get it done quickly so that I can capture the excitement that I do have in this moment and not drive it into the ground by, you know, like you said, caring about a snare for 2 days. Like, I don't want to, that's not how I want to spend my time.
Yeah.
And that that stuff kills it for me, especially someone like me who, like, I'm writing, recording, mixing everything. So once I get to the end of that process, I'm like, Jesus, I never want to hear this ever again, if that's at all possible.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, that and trying to bring other people in so that I'm not so in my head about every single aspect of the entire process. But yeah, I don't know. There's got to be some, I mean, I can't say anything wrong about the way you feel about your albums. I would love to be a little more arrogant, honestly, but I don't know where I mean, everyone's different. I don't know where my personal landing place is going to be, but all I do know is that, like we've been talking about, is that there is that demon that Faulkner mentioned is real. Like, same as what Josh said. It's like, if I am not creating a thing after a certain amount of time, I feel anxious. I feel jumpy. I'm like, something is wrong with me. It needs to get out. And that's the whole thing there, really.
How old are you, dudes?
I'm about to be 31 in like a week.
29.
Yeah.
29. Yeah.
So we're not too far behind you.
Yeah.
No, you're all good. Josh, I appreciated your insight into the record about it's sex on the surface, but there's something else going on. So I appreciate that insight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Most people just hear, you know, he fucked or whatever else. They don't really get beyond.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay, Bradley, I do have to share something with you, and then we'll let you go, and we'll tell people where to find you on the internet. But okay, so I have in front of me, listeners, a journal from 2008.
Whoa.
And there's an excerpt here. I'm not going to read it, but I'm just going to describe it to you. So this is from Cornerstone 2008.
Why not just read it?
Yeah, what
that
are
is
you
the
doing?
one, because this is almost a decade ago, and I was a silly little kid.
Well,
I'm going to get into it.
We just spent 2 hours talking about our identities
And he peed
and not being
twice.
vulnerable.
All right. Fuck you guys. I'll fall under peer pressure. I'll read the shit out of this. Okay, but let me tell you what happened here. Talk about confidence, huh?
Yeah.
Bradley, so this was right after your second record came out, I believe, or soon after. I know it was out because I bought a copy at the time. Okay. And you gave a little, I guess they called it a workshop, but just a talk in a tent. And there was maybe 80 or 100 kids in there. And
so many.
Well, hey, that's still 100 humans listening to what you have to say.
That was great. I wish 100 people showed up nowadays. I'd be stoked.
Right.
All right, carry on.
Well, so after hearing you talk, I knew that there was a lot of good stuff in there, and I didn't want to forget it. So I took my little journal to the picnic area where all the food trucks are, and sat down and wrote basically just a summary of what you said. And I reread it this morning because I have not looked at this in probably 5 years. But it was striking to me because it's like, holy shit, this is what I want to be today as a person. And I mean, obviously it resonated with me then, but it's like I'm still so far behind. I'm still so just immature and a fool. So anyway, here's what I wrote. Here's my imperfect remembrance of what you said that day. All right, here we go. Quote, strive to not care what people think of your art or performance or faith or character. Your success is because of Christ. His will is what will be done, and all blessings are in his hands. Art and creativity and ideas and inspiration are from the Lord, and we ought not to be shy or timid to be open with that art. God has blessed us truly with gifts to be used for his glory, like the parable of the servant who made the one talent into many, multiplying and sharing what you've been given by God in order to inspire others and point people to Christ. Be real, be vulnerable, but don't lay pearls before swine, and be aware of those who may not appreciate your work or who will only trample on your openness. Live simply, pursue humbleness, peace, and thankfulness, and pursue to lose ashamedness or fear or intimidation, and work to let your heart, wait, this gets a little scattery, and work to let your heart and work for Christ's sake in all things. Help people, love people. And then, okay, here's the most embarrassing part. in this artful script, I wrote in quotes, "So do I love you," which is a line from Bradley's song. I'm such a sentimental son of a bitch. So anyway, there's that, Bradley. Almost a decade ago, you spoke into my life, and so thank you for that.
I appreciate that. And now I went from saying Christ is doing everything to now I'm saying a demon is doing it. That says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you
gotta have them both in there.
Do you, from what Josh just said, would you still say all those things to 100 kids in a tent?
No.
Okay.
No, I would not say them with that much
confidence,
Jesus language, but I would still say the same thing. Yeah, no, I don't, I'm a little less quick to say what God is or is not doing at this point in my life, but I absolutely think, I still believe that stuff to be true, but I'm not as interested in giving you the Bible verse for it at this point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't feel a conflict in me saying, yeah, William Faulkner says that there's this demon inside of him that can't be quenched, as opposed to saying God has given me a gift. Yeah, it doesn't really sound like they're that different to me. But
yeah, I see.
But I will say that maybe that's a roundabout way of asking, am I David Bazan now, or am I still a Christian? And I'm but I'm okay.
I mean, you could if that's the answer, then sure. But no, that's not where I was trying to go.
Well, even look at the way that I said we're all going to the same place. I'm not even. Right, I'm not even putting Jesus language on top of that, even though that's what I mean. Right. So I don't know why I'm now that we're saying this out loud, it doesn't feel as necessary for me to say,
Right.
I think we're all going to be with Jesus one day. I think it's just as simple to me to say we're all going to go to the same place and no one's going to be famous anymore.
Yeah.
I still think that's because of what Christ has done, and I still think it's all the same to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great. I appreciate that reminder, Josh. That was interesting. I love that and I've said how arrogant I am like 17 times on this talk when I'm talking about being humble back then. But you know what that is? That's me wrestling. That's me wrestling with arrogance, right? I mean, it's me acknowledging the arrogance of my own life, my own selfishness, and then trying to process it and let it out. You know?
Yeah.
Guys, we didn't talk about Flesh Eater at all.
Well,
It's great.
I'll tell you,
It's great.
listeners. I'll tell people where to go. Hey, listeners, go to bradleyhathaway.bandcamp.com. Don't stream this damn album. You pay good money for it.
Yeah.
Get Bradley enough mammon in his pocket to at least pay for some damn internet. But for real, please do go listen to this record and buy it. Don't just stream it, because that gets Bradley the most money.
Or do both. Buy it and then stream it on repeat while you're
and then
asleep.
stream it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be the best.
That sounds good.
Bradley, are you touring at all on this record? Or have you already?
No one really ever. No, I haven't. But if Lowercase Noises wants to bring me out, I'd be happy to go. So
Oh man.
my whole thing about touring is it's really kind of an availability issue. Like, I want to tour 200 dates a year. I totally do. I want to bring out a band and I want to take my shirt off and I want to play Flesh Eater every night for 200 nights. But I guess no one really wants to bring me out, and I'm not really willing to do a headlining tour for very few people in some really crappy environment, which is kind of why I don't play a lot of shows anymore, because I went from like taking over a room to it doesn't matter what the atmosphere is, they were all there for me and I could change the atmosphere, to that became more difficult. And so for me, it means too much to me to put pearls before swine, as I said 10 years ago. If it's having said that, like, so I went on tour I've gone on a couple tours with Least of These, some friends of mine. Yeah. And I don't even care. Like, at this point, I just love being a dude in the van. I love getting cocktails. Mm-hmm. And I love like, so they were my backing band, so I didn't care if anyone listened or not. It was all about us four just playing as hard and having as much fun as we could. But I would love to tour. So if any of your thousands of listeners are out there, I would love to go on tour. Okay. So I'm hoping in the fall something will come together, because I'm putting out a book in the fall. So I'd like for the album and the book, because they're very related to one another. So I want those to kind of be together, and I want to go on tour and have both of those sitting at the table. But
nice.
It's just a hard go. It's hard go. But yeah.
Totally. That makes complete sense. Yeah.
This was good, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks so much for doing this and for being patient through the technical difficulties. Yeah. So
I had to drive into town and everything, man.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Send us your mileage, and we will not reimburse you. But I mean, you can send it to us.
We'd love to just see how far you drove.
4 miles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes.
I'll get one of those heat topography maps.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I'll send it to you.
I'll look at that after we're both dead, actually.
Cool. All right, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bradley.
All right. See you, man.
All right. Take care. Okay,
all right. Later.
Andy, I was going to say, I forgot to say this in the course of the interview, but the funny thing is that quote I read of Bradley's from that journal, your wife bought me that journal when we were dating. It's the first Moleskine I ever owned.
Wow.
And what do you know?
This is a weird life we live. It's kind of interesting.
Goodness sakes. Strange times. But it's awesome. I mean, she introduced me to Moleskines, which are now my favorite journal. And so it's
there you go.
You know, it's funny how things work out. It's funny.
Good job,
the people
Megan.
you don't marry.
Oh, Anyway, that was a very good interview. I
Yeah.
wish we could have talked longer and on a better signal.
Right. Yeah.
But I really appreciate, I don't know, just talking about, well, one of the things I wish I would have asked is like the arrogance thing that we kept talking about. Is that good or bad? And I feel like the answer would be nuanced in some direction, but I don't really know which one. I don't know. It's nice. It's also comforting for me to hear an artist basically be very open about the struggle in all aspects of being an artist. And because it's hard to really convince people who aren't on this quote unquote level or aren't doing it professionally or don't have the desire that it is hard. I feel like people look at my life or even, your life, Bradley's life, and are like, that looks really awesome and fun and way better than what I'm doing in my 9 to 5. And it's like, the answer is yes and no. And
Sure.
so it's not just yes, it's yes and no. And so it's always nice to be able to talk to people who are honest about it and feel it too. Because
Right.
I don't know if a lot of artists are faking it or if they really are just really having the time of their life and having a great time. But that's not my experience completely. So I wish that was more the case, but it's not. So it's just nice to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'll bet there's some of both, or the the artists who really are having that much fun and the ones
Right.
who are just trying to make it look that way online.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, we've probably talked about this before, but I just remember as a kid thinking, Fall of Troy or He Is Legend, I just assumed they were making a bunch of money and living off of that band, and like in between they just chilled at home. I had no idea that these are just regular guys. Most of them have crummy day jobs.
Right.
And, they have a blast on the road, but they really don't make enough to live off of, not even
Right.
close. So, yeah.
Yep.
Support your artists there,
Yeah, buddy.
folks.
Yeah.
Well, great talk. I feel good.
Yep. I feel great too. So don't forget, lowercasenoises.com/tour. Come see me in a living room somewhere, or come to Denver and see. Well, Josh, you're going to be with me both at the Denver show and at Audio Feed.
Sure am.
So 2 chances
Man.
to see the Ink and Echo boys together.
Right. And we actually are living it. I mean, Ink and Echo
totally.
pays all our bills, and we just, in between, it's just sunglasses and lawn chairs and beers.
I'm trying to figure out what to do with all this extra money. Like, I can't fit it in my room anymore.
Yeah. Like
so
you just keep $100 bills stacked
Yeah.
and wrapped and like piled up to the wall.
Totally.
up to
So
the
if
ceiling.
anyone has suggestions on what I should do with my insane amounts of money, you just let me know. It's a problem that's been weighing on me.
We could just buy a big
so
yellow
stupid.
yacht, like the color of the Ink and Echo logo, just a big yellow yacht
Yeah.
that's like $20 million.
Yeah. Okay. That's a thought. All right.
Great show. Bye, everybody.
Next week, Stephen Tomlinson is back to talk about his new album. So stay tuned for that, boys and girls.
This episode was brought to you by Nikon Coolpix, the camera Ashton Kutcher once endorsed years ago, and it's still around and relevant. Great.
What the hell?
Some people will know that reference.
Okay.